Tonight, we have Phillip Schiro. Phillip has been here before. He is he always has interesting and entertaining conversations with all of us here, and the last one was very interesting. He is the historian for Fort DeSoto, and he's a third-generation Florida cracker. Pretty cool. There's not very many of those around here. So anyway, if you would please help me welcome Phillip Schiro.
How are y'all doing this evening? I've seen a lot of y'all here before. My last presentation, I come to other presentations to watch them. Just a couple minutes of background on me. I am not a teacher. I am not a historian. I am an amateur historian. I enjoy history of all types. So when I do this presentation tonight, this is more, as you know, the old Central Florida Roadside Attractions. So some of them are long gone, because most of these are gone, and some of these have been modified to something different from what they were. But on a couple of them, I was able to go back 50 years before they were a roadside attraction and show the original attraction, before there were roads. So my background is U.S. Navy. I did 20 years on submarines, and we're going to start with the Central Florida Attractions of Florida, roadside style, and we'll go from there. All right, now this is going to be covering technically from the 50s and to the 80s. Just like I say, some have gone away, but some of them existed pre-50s. So I'm just putting that out up front in case you notice the date is the 30s. All right. Now these are some of the attractions. They're going to be broken down in a couple areas. The local St. Pete area. Everybody might remember Old Webb City. The old St. Pete Pier, Triangle. The Bounty. How about the Aquarium? Anybody remember the museum, the Wax Museum? That was right down the street from the Aquarium. Tiki Gardens, the Indian Rocks Pier. How many people fished off that pier as a child? That's not good. I don't have that many locals here. Okay. Sunken Gardens, it's still there. The ones in black are still here. Up in Tampa, Laurie Park. The old Safety Village in Fairyland. Okay. Busch Gardens, still there. Treasure Land, you might not remember that one. It was about 5 years that was there. How many are old enough to remember the Super Test Amusement Park? This was owned and operated by the old gas stations. Okay, we'll get into that. Nearby in the Central Florida area, Silver Springs is still there. Six Gun Territory, a few of y'all missed, no, maybe? Okay, a couple. Weeki Wachee Springs is still there. Homosassa Springs, Rainbow Springs. Again, look at that. You got 1, 2, 3, you got 4 springs there right in a row. Okay. Bach Tower. Okay, so I got a lot, my people here know Central Florida. Okay. Cypress Gardens, unfortunately it's gone, but it is now part of Legoland. The gardens are still there. Anybody remember Florida Land? Okay, I'll talk about that one a little bit when I get there. Gatorland over in, just above Kissimmee. And Sarasota Jungle Gardens is still there also. And the Ringling. How many people out of curiosity have been to the Ringling? Okay, that's like 90%. Okay, you 10%ers, you're behind the power trip. You don't need to go there. Webb City. This is going to be a few photos to bring things back to it. But the world's most unusual drugstore. I don't even want to get into what that man would do to get people there, but he did. 77 departments, 1,700 employees, and it covered 7 city blocks.
A 9-cent ice cream cone.
There you go. 5 cents would go back far enough. I'm not pushing you. I'm sorry.
Oh, 9 cents. Maybe that was the dollar.
Back in 45 and 5 cents for a cone. There's the old escalators back in the 60s. Like I said, these are just photos to bring back some memories. The old Birdmaid sign on the side of the big building, and the old grotto inside it. I just barely remember that. I was a child. I mean, just barely remember that.
Where's the chicken?
I'm not trying to date myself anymore. Oh, somebody remembers the chickens. Okay. Native Floridian, I'm assuming. No? Okay. I'll let somebody else talk about that. Yes.
Where was Webb City?
Downtown, basically, Fifth Street. Let me give you the right address on that, because I don't like to lie to people. Getting 9th Street and 2nd Avenue to 2nd Street and 4th Avenue. That's what it encompasses.
It's across from the trough.
Yep, right across the trough.
Yeah, U-Haul.
Now here's the St. Pete Pier. It goes all the way back to 1889. They built this pier just after plant gets to Tampa with the plant railroad. But that's a picture of the pier in 89. It went up literally about 2,500 feet out from the shoreline of downtown St. Pete area. Then it's upgraded in 1913 for early automobiles and some streetcars. And it gets damaged by the hurricane of 21. But again, a couple of decent pictures going back 100 years. Here's that original pier again, just to get up more from the water aspect of it. There's a total of 3,000 feet long in total. And the water depth at the last about 500 feet was about 12 feet at low tide. So that was why I had to go out so far. I had the depth for a ship to be to pull up and be unloaded and offloaded straight to the railroad cars. Yeah, well, it does every once in a while act up on me. No, it's not bad. Is it going? We go back there and move. So see it, sometimes it'll jump. Now, how many people do remember the $1 Million Pier? Okay. This is built in 26 until 67, so it's 41 years in operation. At that time, the pier is total about 1,450 feet long, and that's because of the area where you see the beach. That was the area that was 1,450. It went back, but it had been more built up, be more landline. How many people realize that that was a casino? Originally, that was the casino. All right. The beach at the foot of the pier was there from most of the 30s through the 50s, and with it changing about the time of the pyramid. Now, you'll see that in the next picture here. There's the pyramid, early picture. This is from about 2005. You can still see the beach aspect there, okay? But originally, all that had been beach. And just because we're going to see this in a minute, do you see that? Can you tell what that is? Looks like a sailing ship, right? The Bounty. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Here's the St. Pete Pier today. Opened in 2020. It is 3,000 feet long from the shore. So it's back to the original rough length. I haven't had a chance to go out there yet. How many people have been to the new pier? Do you like it compared to the old pier? The old pier just had that feeling to it. Ah, the Bounty. Now this was built for a movie, the 1962 film of the Mutiny on the Bounty. It is a full-scale plus replica of the original Bounty, and that's what will be big enough to do filming on. So it's about 20% longer, all right? So this one is 180 feet. The original ship was probably about 150, 155. So they made it a little bit bigger, a little bit wider to have ease of moving camera stuff around for filming sequences on the actual ship. Now, most people don't know this. She participated in the Gaston invasion all during the 60s and through the 80s. That was the pirate ship used going into Tampa. All right? And she sank off Carolina coast during Hurricane Sandy in 12. She was 62 years old. Here's a piece of information on that. You do know she was in a more current movie. She was actually used in the Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest in 2005, and she is the ship called the Edinburgh Trader. So she was actually in that movie. Again, you can see where she was at the old pyramid pier there. The Aquatarium. I honestly don't really remember it. I think I went there once or twice as a young child. I lived in Tampa. But that was the Aquatarium. She was trained dolphins, sea lions, pilot whales. It was real big with the pilot whales back then, not the orcas. So that's what you normally would see. And she was right there on St. Pete Beach. And the road you turned on to go down to it, that's where the museum was at. The Tusaud Museum was on the main road, and you turn right by it to get to the Aquatarium. Corpus shows, and again, an aerial looking at it from about, this is about 63 or 64, I believe, just to show it was out on the beach. And real quick, the museum, London Max Museum, it opened in '63, so it was open until '89, believe it or not, pretty long run. 120 wax figurines in it, right there on Gulf Boulevard. There's still about 10 of these left in the world, 10 or 12. But the ones in the smaller communities went away in the '80s when things got tight because of gas prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And everything else is more entertaining for the kids. And a couple just some of the figurines inside. How many people had been to it out of curiosity? Almost 50% of New York. Well, I'll give that to you. You understand what it was like to go into it. I imagine one in New York is a little bit larger than what we had down here. Tiki Gardens and Trader Frank's. I imagine everybody here has been in either the restaurant or the gardens themselves. It's a nice Polynesian style attraction, right there on Indian Rocks Beach, in the Indian Rocks Beach area, Madeira Beach. And then Trader Jack's was the restaurant. Trader Frank's. Why do I keep? I know why. Trader Jack's. Yeah. But that's a couple of photos looking at it. Now, if I remember right, on Tiki Gardens seated about 450 people. It was a pretty good size of a restaurant as far as the restaurant went. And they were averaging pre-Disney about 500,000 to 600,000 visitors each year. So it was in the top 3 attractions in Florida before the mouse. Right there on the beach. In fact, it's today, that's a county access parking lot, and that is where the Topabaga statue's at for the Topabaga Indians.
Yeah.
That's the old.
And it's still called Citrus.
It's still got the tiki sign, yeah, tiki garden sign. But that was destroyed by Elena in '85. At the same time, the pier was destroyed. Indian Rocks Fishing Pier, again, down Indian Rocks Beach, about 12th Avenue, I believe it was. It went out about 1,040 feet. Like I say, it was pretty much destroyed. Well, no, it was destroyed. It was 99% gone after Elena hit in '85. And there was a lot of fishing tournaments off that pier. It was a very small pier. I was on that as a kid a lot. It was literally only 12 foot wide. It was a small pier. Long pier, small, but not very wide at all. Oh, Sunken Gardens. Now, it first opens in 1935. Okay? It's only, you argue 3 to 4 acres is all it is. But the way it was set up, the way the trails are set up, you really think you're on a big piece of property. But it's much larger, it's gorgeous. As far as I can tell, it's still gorgeous today. And it's now owned by the city of St. Pete. They took it over in '99. And a couple other just photo aspects again, just to get a little bit of flavor for the gardens. How many people have been there lately? Okay, still, okay. Well, the last 4 or 5 years. Now here's the one most people probably never even heard of. Treasureland. It was on Bush Boulevard, right the other side of 40th Street from Busch Gardens. It was only there, I think, 7 years total. It was a very cheesy, it really was. If you notice, the boat is not in water, it's on a riverbank. It was a very cheesy attraction, but it was something in town, and people, it wasn't very expensive at the time, but it was something to go and do with the kids on a Saturday, or even the early evenings. But it's like I say, and unfortunately, much there, so it's only one slide for it. The Super Test Amusement Park. This is a very unique amusement park. The owner was the man that owned the Super Test gas stations in Florida, primarily the franchise in the Tampa area. And there was about 15 or 16 gas stations. And when you bought 5 gallons of gasoline, he gave you a stamp. So think of the old S&H green stamps. And you could trade in each stamp for a ride. Okay? So people would get their gas, and each month, maybe they go through 25 or 30 gallons of gas, so they'd have 5 or 6 or 7 coupons for a ride for one of the kids. But you had a few rides there. The Tampa Valley merry-go-round, 64-horse merry-go-round. It's a monster. When you're thinking about back in the late 50s, this is a monster. But they had so it had a couple nice little attractions. The carousel, the Tampa Valley, the roller coaster, and it went up, I think, about 40 feet up. So it was enough to get the 8, 9, 10-year-olds blood going, get the or it's going. And then the old, I don't remember what that was called, but the little railroad ride, the little car thing, it was something in Tampa. And that's it, we're talking the 50s and early 60s. And that's before they started doing the old, the colored glass and stuff they gave away at gas stations. And that's one of the old stations, what they looked like. This is about 59, 60. And that's all it looked like. It was famous for its, what I call the V-shaped light fixtures out there. And there's still super test gas stations around the country, but there's not many in Florida. So something unique. Laurie Park Zoo, how many people have been there? How many people have been there before it was called Zoo Tampa? Well, it's still Laurie Park Zoo. Okay, so these are pictures you'll recognize. This is the original from about 58 when it's built. Photo here, the old rainbow for crossing over the waterway. I don't know how many thousands of pennies they got out of this thing over the years. Over there. And I do mean thousands of dollars of pennies. There used to be the old Neptune P-2 maritime patrol bomber that was there for years. How many people remember climbing in that plane? No. But this is back in the 60s. Then you got the idea of Fairyland. Oh, well, that was the old little castle aspect for the kids. This is all Laurie Park Zoo, or Laurie Park before the zoo. Now they had the old pit thing, so you did have dolphins there and manatees, but this is very primitive compared to what we think of today. Yeah, the animal protection groups should really be all over that. But anyway, and then, does anybody remember Safety Village? Okay, this is where the kids in second, I think in third grade, the schools will take you there and teach you the traffic rules of do and don'ts, of looking for traffic signs and stuff. And it's a miniature. See the adults here? So basically, the top of the house, a regular house, will be right about here. Okay? So it was miniature for the kids aspect. But that's an overhead aspect look of it. And like I say, it was all set up, everything for it. And like I say, Safety Village. And there's the train going through Laurie Park itself. You'll ride on the train. Now, this is unusual. If you remember Fairyland, this is some of the characters that were built for the original Fairyland. So I got a story to tell you on that. And again, you can see the old Mother Hubbard in her shoe. There's the Fairyland Railroad, and this is just on display, a full-size steam engine from the 1910 time frame. But these here are very important, and this is why it's important. They now exist again today. They have been refurbished. Laurie Park Zoo. This is Laurie Park in 1952. This is before there's a Laurie Park that's Tampa. It's just a park on the river in the old wooden. Somebody built it over the weekend. Going over one of the creeks going into the Silver River. And this is Laurie Park. But we see, I have something even older. They used to have cabanas. Back when the park was built in the time of the Conservation Corps, and there was like 9 of them, if I remember right. It could have been 12, but I do know for a fact it's at least 9. And they're old thatched cabanas that were used by people in the 30s. So like I said, you can find some interesting things out there on history. But going back to my little characters, here's the backstory of this. Fairyland was built in 57. It was demolished in 96. So this thing, almost 40 years. The statues were all in very rough shape after being vandalized. But where they were actually saved and put in storage and forgotten. I mean this literally, forgotten. They were discovered, here's the T, they were discovered in 2016. How can something be in a storage building for that long and nobody knew it? But anyway, they were discovered and they went on auction and Mr. Gosmart bought them. He decided, and I don't know if anybody knows where everybody knows that Columbia is at Ybor City. The Yule restaurant is on the Hillsborough River. on the wall. And now they're on display. Not all, not 90% were able to be refurbished. But they've been installed on the restaurant's property along the river wall. Now, Zoo Tampa. Just to show, for those that might not know, this is Slide Boulevard, so everybody probably knows Slide. There's North Boulevard, there's the Hillsborough River. Okay, here's Kirby, and just above this would be about Bush Boulevard. And this is where Zoo Tampa's at. There's where the original Lorry Park with the thatched cabins would have been at. But this is the parking lot, and right about here would have been the old Rainbow Bridge. But this is now Zoo Tampa, that's the area, for those from Tampa, you might know where I'm talking about very easily. Oh, yeah. How many people have not been to Busch Gardens? Tampa. Okay. All right, so everybody's been there. So you remember this picture, right? Oh, no. This is when it's built, 1959. I only do this for history purposes. You see this back here? That's the old Henderson-Hillsborough International Airport. We didn't want, I want to drop the international because that's just being overly, whatever. But anyway, this is where it's at. This is Bush Boulevard. Here's 30th. That would have been what's today is now 40th Street. If you know the area. And like I say, there was an airport out there. A lot of people don't know that. Most people don't know that. This is a 1970s map, a little bit of it, so you can kind of recognize how little there was. This big building is what, people? The brewery. So it's still over half the property was producing beer. Okay. Here's a map in 85. Here's the train back in the 85 time frame. Again, in 85 though, where's the damn brewery? Exactly. It's gone. Okay. Well, actually it's still here. This is right before it goes away. But then you see it's gone back. It's all the way to Fletcher. This is in 93. See, according to this, the brewery's still there. I think when did it go away? It's been about 95. I was thinking 85, 86. There's the old Colony House, and it's still there, I believe. Probably call it something different. These two photos are from 1960s. Again, this is called the Swiss House. And there's the old Jungle Cruise. A little bit less than what we would think of a Jungle Cruise today. You just packed them on there. Hopefully nobody fell in. There were the alligators in this little cruise, but they're not animated. This is pre-animated. This is moving forward a little bit. 74, again, the Swiss House and the old Hospitality House. Okay, y'all can all be honest. We're all adults here. How many people remember being in the Hospitality House? Nobody dragged you in there. Tell me that. Anyway, that's the old Hospitality House. And I can see the old Anaheim Bush on back there.
Is the brewery still
No,
on the grounds?
no, it's a torn down place. We don't produce anymore now. Here's the bird garden section and the edge of Africa. Oh, there's that damn train again. Oh, that Skyway's gone. Unless they brought it back, I don't think they did. The old Skyway, 2 ways of traveling. Did they bring it back? No. Okay, I don't think so. Yep. Here's the 2023 map. So roughly, this is where it's been. See, the brewery, they had to go put another roller coaster in, so I had to go away. This building here still exists. Now, you know what that building is, right? See that little building here, those weird little roof? Yeah. Yeah, that's the Hospitality House.
Oh.
It's still in use. So for a while, it was like a cafe or, for regular food, but it's the physical building is still there. Been refurbished a little bit, but it's still exists. So it's nice to see something all the way from 1960 still physically on the.
My grandfather was a fan of that place. It was all you could drink. In the 60s, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was all you could drink. And you showed up there and
You're right. There's only one caveat to it.
okay.
They weren't going to help you out. You had to have your own assistants.
All right.
And if I remember right, you had to go up that long escalator to do the tour, and then you were able to partake. I got people remembering stuff. That's the purpose of doing this. Oh! Silver Springs. Now, most people don't know this. It goes back to 1925 as far as a park, as far as people coming and paying for it. But this is the entrance today, what it looks like, and for a long time now. There's the old back when, and notice the roadway going in is a little bit different today. But this is the, that would be going straight to State Road 40. This is the basin there. Ross Island Reptile Institute was there, remember that? Used to milk the rattlesnakes for people. Get to see the snake shows. Yeah, the deer ranch was there until the 80s. And the old Prince of Peace Memorial was there. And they actually had a Seminole village. Very small, 8 or 10 structures. But they tried to do everything. Here's the old entrance picture. There's the walkway going in about 1960 time frame going into the old Reptile Institute. It had changed in the 70s. Then you have the Prince of Peace area up there at the top. The deer ranch on the right. Like I said, that was the main entrance coming off of State Road 40. There's the Seminole Indian Village entrance. The old log cabin that was here was the entrance into the Reptile Institute. And they had an entranceway going back to Seminole Village. So this is how the area looked though. This is, you know, I hate to use the term, this was natural Florida. It wasn't clear. They just took down what they had to put in what they needed. And so it still gave the, you were in Florida. You were in a Seminole Village. There was swamp there. There was, you could hear the alligators at night growling and grunting and everything else they're going to be doing. So as a native aspect, it's still, Ocala is still very small. This is on the outside of the city limits of Ocala. Here's a 1958 site map of it, just to give an idea. There's that basin, there's the roadway going to State Road 40 right there. There's that little roadway you saw in that picture. There's where the Institute was there. Little Seminole Village is back in here. That building still exists as it is today. That's where the old snack shop and if you've been there in the last 10 or 15 years, the fudge and this, that, now, you know, the other things you're going to buy, the tourist trap items. And then I took the 2006 map. What's interesting about this, it shows a little bit more of the idea of the river, but this is still pre-park, or state park. Wild Waters. Wild Waters is built at Silver Springs. And they do this because of the mouse. Wild Waters opens in 78. Now Mouse, Disney World opens in 73. But this is to get people to get off the interstate and not just drive on by going down to Disney World. But it's there and it's operational, I want to say, just about 20 years. Make sure I got that right. Opened in 78. Yeah, went away in 90 something, I believe it was. Oh, 2016. So it made it 40 years. But again, this is right, if I give a perspective, these springs and stuff would be right about here area. And it was butted up on a big part of it today. They just now finally finished tearing it all down in the last few years. It's happening 50. History. Here's the glass bottom boats in 70. There's a glass bottom boat, 1929. How many people remember Sea Hunt? They were filmed in the Springs. All right? And also about 6 of the Tarzan movies were filmed in the 30s and 40s there. We got a little history going there. All right? But let me throw some more history on this. This is 1900. There's one of the old stern wheel steamboats. So they could, I want everybody to listen very carefully. You could leave Jacksonville on a side wheeler, come down to Palatka, Florida on the St. Johns River. You're going to have to get now on a stern wheeler because it can't be more than about 15 foot wide. You're going to get on a stern wheeler at Palatka. You're going to come up the Ocala River. And there's some people say it's not big enough to be a river, but it's a river. And you're going to come up the Ocala River to the Silver River. And you're going to turn the last about 9 miles up the Silver River. And you're going to end up in Silver Springs.
Oh, wow.
You could literally take a boat the whole way from Jacksonville to Silver Springs. and never touch land. Yeah, technically you can still, yeah, you can. The river, except now you got the Rodman Dam, which is what makes Okalaha River, lake, and they're trying to, a lot of people want to tear it down and make it go back to natural, but the bass tournaments are right now, you know, it's some serious good bass
Now
stuff.
you need your own boat.
Huh?
Now you need your own boat.
Yeah. But this is like, say, 1900. So like I say, when I try to bring some, what I call real history going back, so I mean, but I'm not done. Let me see here. I gotta sit down for this. Okay, let's see, 1894. Here's your ticket from Palatka to Silver Springs. Here's looking at that same boat in the last picture. Let me go back to it. See the boat from the side? Well, here's it from the front. That's how wide it was. So it's very narrow, but they could be up to 85 feet long. Most of them are around 60 to 65 feet. And they draft, literally, salt water they need. So they're able to go up these shallow rivers. All right? But they transport everything from sugar. They're going to bring goods into the area. So this is how people get in and out of Florida. And it's about 1900 easily. The railroad starts coming in the 85 time frame. Did you have a question?
We were just.
No, that's right. I'm going to sit there for a minute.
So it was for a family, and then they had a room inside that boat.
Yeah, they actually had little staterooms because you had to stay overnight, one night. It was about 24 hours, and they wouldn't move all night long. So they'd tie up on the long side of the riverbank for about 6 to 10 hours, and so it was a 2-day trip from Palatka. But you're going literally up a very, as the crow flies, it's about 40 miles. As the river, it's about 61.
Now, does the dam block?
Now, the Robin Dam blocks now, yeah, now you can't.
Can't go through?
Yeah, you can still get through, there's a way to go through it, but it's not like, you wouldn't be able to do it with some straps and paper. You have to do a small portage for your canoes and stuff of that nature. So I say, it's, people don't realize how accessible Florida was if you're willing to take on the swamps, the critters that live in the swamps. And the last historical picture. This is Silver Springs again. There's the Hiawatha. There's the railroad coming in, a small hotel, probably had about 8 rooms in it. Right there on the spring. This is the Heart Line. Heart Line was operational for the 1920s. But again, just showing you how that area has progressed in the last 100 years. 120 years, actually. Any questions on the Silver Springs history? It goes back there a ways.
What kind of engine do they have in the old park?
That was the old single stroke steam. And then what basically it works the same way as a locomotive engine does, except it's much smaller.
Steam coming out.
Oh yeah, they went through some serious wood. 6-gun territory. How many people do remember it? A few of y'all. Okay, 6-gun territory was literally right across the street on State Road 40, a half mile down from Silver Springs itself. It was right there. They brought the old west of Florida. It was here from 63 to 84, so it did a 20-year run. Again, the mouse killed it. And then with what happened in the early 80s, the economy didn't last a little bit to it. But they had some interesting little things there. Here's a couple of shots of the time frame. For some reason, the Can girls went over real well. And then here's the street there. There's the train you ride and you get into the entryway. There was also one of the old gondola units, so you went in by the Skyway. And they always had all the different things going on. They had the shootouts in the middle of the road, people falling off the roofs, all that stuff you see in an old Western movie. All right. Again, at the street, looking at it in the late 60s probably, and they ended up building a amusement park in the 60s to bring it more attractive for the children. So the children enjoyed the other aspect. They wanted something for the children because if the kids aren't happy, the parents don't bring them there. But that's just the reality of it. And then the old train, it always had the train robbery going on down there. This is right there. You collect there alongside the end of the road, or the main roadway of the town, and watch the train robbery. Weeki Wachee Springs. Okay, how many people have not been to Weeki Wachee? Okay, it's kind of, so they still do the mermaid shows. They still do the mermaid shows. And that's looking inside the, today, about 2014, they upgraded again, so you're sitting below water, looking out through into the basin. But that's the old entrance. It doesn't look a lot different than that today. Underwater mermaid show. Oh, Miss Hartman! Miss Hartman! Get out of the water, please! We have our own mermaid here today. Just wave your hand, that's all. I am curious, are you in this photo? I'm thinking this is about 76, but I can't swear.
No, I'm 71, they were before me.
Okay. Anyway, they still do the mermaid shows. They have now the big water park there. That's the big draw, is the water park, naturally. But they still pack up that little theater. I think it seats around 350, 400 people. So they still pack it out the mermaid shows. It's still a very popular item.
I'll put it on my bucket list.
There it goes. Anyway, the water slide area, they still have the little boat that goes down the river a little ways. During this time of year, manatees are on the river. And a little bit of an aerial, and I did this only give a perspective. There's the theater, so there's the spring, here's the water park area. So as you can see, the water park is a big draw. And then the boat you saw just a moment ago leads right around here to the river backing down. It's blocked off. So the manatees cannot get all the way up to the spring.
Do they allow tubing on that river? They used to, right?
Yeah, I think they still do. But like I say, it is the water park's the big attraction. So think season, late spring, all summer long. But like I say, the mermaid shows are still very, one at a time. Just a real quick map of it today. Like I say, it is a state park. All these parks were bought by the state of Florida because they were defunct, basically since 2000. And they've morphed into state parks, so they've kept a lot of what was there, just not as commercialized, so there's more of an environmental perspective to it. But like the glass bottom boats still Silver Springs, you still have the mermaid shows, but it's more from the idea of conservation aspect of it. Homosassa Springs. How many people have been there? Because this is a little bit farther up the road than Weekly Watches. Okay. Homosassa Springs is more of a nature park. They've got they do work with the manatees. It's one of the acute care centers for manatees, along with Lorry Park Zoo is also an acute center for manatees that are injured. But anyway, Homosassa Springs right there on 19. Again, a map of part. They got a full, I hate to use the term zoo, but it's more of the birding and stuff. They got animals on display. I don't know if our rhino is still there, and somebody could update me on that. The rhino had been there. She's been there 75 years. Last time I was here was about 5 years ago.
It's a hippopotamus.
Huh? Hippo. Oh, yeah, hippo. But as far as I know, she's still there. I haven't come across an article for passing. But it is a nice park, and most kids do enjoy it. I took my granddaughters there when they were about 10, 11. They still haven't got too old to not want to go see it. But that's Homosassa Springs, 70 miles north of Largo. Rainbow Springs. How many people have been there? Oh, it's not bad. Because it's kind of out of the way. Rainbow Springs is on 41 up in Denellen. So it's 100 miles north of Largo. Okay. But the Rainbow Springs, they just got it. It's a state park. They just got it redone. They've been working on the waterfalls back in October, November. So I think we got all the man-made waterfalls back running again. I think the tallest one's 70-something feet. They had the old leaf ride back when it was a park. There's the swimming area of the spring. There's the old boats they had back then. These do not exist anymore. When you sat down, your head was below the water. So you're looking out this way. Silver Springs, you're looking down into the water, into the spring. Here you sat down low enough that you were looking out to the side of and looking horizontally into the water. But again, there's the old leaf ride they had in the sixties. And, this is one of the old maps for it. It is a nice, natural, what I call, park. Walk through the trails, see the plant life, this, that, and the other. It's got a nice swimming area. They do close it when they get to a certain capacity. So if you're not there early during the summer months, you might not be able to get in there. But it is a very nice little park, and they've done a lot of work on the last. They did a lot of volunteer work 15 years ago to get it all back. You know, and it's been allowed to overgrow and go to nature for 10 to 12 years. A lot of volunteers get appointed. Here's an aerial view of Rainbow Springs in the 1954. There's the spring area. Notice the railroad track is still there. And the reason the spring became so popular, they found phosphates into them. So the railroad had to come up there, and people realized the spring was there, and it became, for a better term, a tourist attraction. And the idea, because people were there working, people were starting to live in that area heavier because of the mining industry, and that's why it became very popular. For an out-of-the-way location, like I said, it's on State Road 40. Clock Tower Gardens. Like I said, most of y'all been there? Okay. It's on 250 acres of land. There's the tower there on the left. There's a little bit of an overview of the gardens, the tower in the background. All this area is a gorgeous park. It's maintained very well. The tower is 205 feet in height. It's 50-foot rectangle on the bottom. There are a few bells in this tower. The largest bell weighs 23,000 pounds. I'm going to need about 5 or 6 people. We're going to go out there in about 2 months, and they're supposed to take this thing out. We're going to go up and take it down and polish it. Now, anyway, and the smallest bell is a whooping 16 pounds. So the 2 ladies here are going to handle the little one. All us guys are going to go down and handle the big one. But this is a description of it. This down here is the founder's room at the bottom. You had the research area and archives right above it. Your water cisterns, when it's built, they got these big water cisterns to supply the water to water the gardens. All right? There's a total of 60 bells in here. The only other Caroline Tower in Florida really is at Stephen Foster Park. And that's electronic, but that's all the way up at the state line, Stephen Foster State Park. Now on this here, I want to point out one little thing, because I almost forgot about it. It's built in 1924 to 29, it's 5 years to build it. And if I remember right, oh, I do have a picture, that's fine. I'm forgetting I had a picture of it. This is inside. How many people have seen inside? You probably have. Okay, y'all been like me, lucky to see inside. This is that ground floor. It's just gorgeous. If you're lucky and see the doors open, you look into it, you almost want to wrestle to get inside there. But it's a gorgeous room. All that granite was brought in for it from Georgia. There's the bells. Bells coming in by train. That's, I think, 4 of the largest bells there. That's that 23,000 pound.
It took more than 3 guys.
It took 3 guys with the wire to it. All right. On one side. Cypress Gardens. Don't have much on that one. It's a shame it went away. Again, the freezes and stuff, the things that damage to it, and hurricanes did a little damage to it. The mountains did a lot of damage to it. Because it was a garden. The big draw for it was the ski shows. So, you know, for some reason the kids didn't get into it. But anyway, 1936 to 2009. It exists for a while. The old Southern bell dresses. And like I say, the old gardens, the top areas. And the old, that's a 4-stacker. This is a 4-stacker pyramid on the skis. I think Ocean say something about that today. I don't know. And then again, now notice this picture. We can safely say this is not in the summer in Florida. But, again, you can see the color and how well we maintain. Like I said, and it's still part of Legoland, the gardens too. And well, I was told they are doing the ski shows. That Legoland has restarted ski shows a few years ago. And they may only do it on the weekends, I don't know, but I was told they are already doing the ski shows. That's one tree. That's the old banyan tree in Cypress Gardens. It's a monster. There's a couple of those around Florida. Florida Land. This is the one nobody knows about, right? Okay, it's down south of us. Osprey, near, not quite to Venice. Okay? And what they were doing, they were trying to get people to get south of Tampa, because you got to stay on 41 to get down there. And stuff north of us, like 6-gun territory, etc., are pulling them off the road. Well, they're going to try and compete. So they have they build a small street, they build the buildings, they have the gunfights, they have the can girls, blah, 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 blah. And they have a little bit of a dolphin show, they got a seashell gardens, they got the deer park, they got a boot hill, we won't get in that. They got other things showing, a small Indian village. They're trying to duplicate, again, 6-gun territory, but they're literally 150 miles south of 6-gun. So, I mean, I understand they're far enough away, but it's on 50 acres of land. Didn't last long, but that was the attempt south of us. And they had the dolphin shows right there on the lagoon there. They were actually, this is saltwater lagoon, they get water free flow in and out, it's blocked off. And a lot of the slapstick humor with the dolphins. So, I don't know if the dolphin's playing curly and he's playing Mo, or he's curly. I don't know. Anyway, they you have to get the laughs and things are going on. But that was down there in Osprey. Gatorland! Most people have been to Gatorland, it's somewhere. Unique location, is there almost down to, it's on 441 just before you get down to 192 in Kissimmee. You know where I'm talking about, or if you've heard of St. Cloud. It's expanded a lot from what it was. Today you've got the alligator shows, you've got they feed the alligator chickens, so you can see how hungry the alligators can be. The train ride here no longer exists, but they do have a train ride on a loop back in here. This has now been added to it, so this is back in the 70s here. It's a nice little location. It's still worth going to. They've added some new stuff. Anybody into the zip stuff? You get to ride over. Now, I'm going to point this out. When you're on this thing, just remember, don't think about falling. Please, don't think about falling, because you're swinging over the swamp, and you can see all those lovely 8 and 10-foot alligators down below you. Yeah, you'd think twice once I told you that about taking a zip line. But anyway, it is a nice attraction. They do good business. It's still owned by the Goodwin family. They've owned this since the beginning. And that's an aerial satellite showing the original thing. If you think from the 70s, this is the original. And then in the 80s, they added the more nature aspect to it, the trails and the zip line going across, which is from around here over here. And threw in a lot of alligators to make it feel good when you're flying over, so you see what they look like. And they make sure the water's not too deep so you can see the alligators in the water as you fly over. Sarasota Jungle Gardens. I know everybody here's probably been, well, this don't look good. Man, low turnout. We're only at 10%. All right. They've been there since 1939. Again, it is a tropical garden, about 10 acres. It's still there. It's only 1 mile south of the Ringling. So it's right there. It's just south of the Ringling. But it's not on the main road. It's 2 blocks over. So you have to watch the sign to get over to it. But it's a tropical gardens. 10 acres botanical. They have the bird and the animal shows. And for those that are brave, they have these snake cuddling shows. It's only 4 foot. I don't think she was breathing those. Nah, she might be. Okay. But again, a map of the area. It's right there on Sarasota Bay, like I say, 1 mile south of the Ringling. But it is still a nice garden if you go down that way. How many people have been to the ring there? How many people have taken a tour inside the house? Okay, most of you. Okay. The Ringling Museum, Sarasota. It is technically the Florida State Museum. All right. It was donated to the state of Florida by the Barnum Bailey when they passed. This is the entrance going into it, so you all recognize the entranceway going into it. And some of the draws. This is the Museum of Art. For those few of y'all that have not been there, this is not a 1 or 2 hour stop. This is, we're going to get there before lunch, probably have lunch, and we'll try and be out by 3 or 4. We close at 5. So that's what you're going to need to do. Most people will take about 2 hours to walk through the gallery inside to see the painting. Even my granddaughters, it took us 2 hours. With 9-year-old girls, 2 hours. Yes?
On Mondays, the museum, it's the art museum is free.
Oh, I did not know
Go to the
that.
website, they'll tell you.
Okay. So on Mondays,
It's just the art museum.
just the art museum. Okay. Just let me set
They
that to
give
the
you a
note.
little tag or something so you can do it.
I've had a membership with them about 4 or 5 years as I get down there too.
Walk the grounds.
Yeah, you walk the
You can't
grounds.
go into the other museum.
Yeah, you can't go into the Tibbets and stuff of that nature. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going down there, you want to go into the Tibbets. I almost clicked it. Now, I said, remember I made a comment about there are some big banyan trees? Yeah, we have them on the ground. There's about 4 or 5 of them. And they're very comparable, maybe a little bit bigger than the one at Cypress Gardens. Because they've been there a little bit longer. But it's not lovely grounds. You've got the courtyard, which is inside the museum area, with all the statuary and all the statues on the top. I think he was trying to duplicate the feeling when you're in Rome, walking in there and seeing all the statues up there in that area. So that's all I can figure. But anyway, it is a lovely museum. The grounds are lovely. You have the rose garden here. And then it is on, this is the mansion, 36,000 square foot mansion, 5 guest suites. There's 56 total rooms. And what's nice about this, for all that, if you don't remember, all those lovely tapestries that are hanging on the downstairs. But this is looking from the bay side, looking to the building. This is the building. This is the patio. The patio is bigger than the foot of the building. Now this is the Temple's Learning Center. And this is where you're going to go in to see everything from the museum aspect to the mock-up or model of the train, of the circus. One man built this model. Here's a mural going into it, painted by William Woodard back in 1989. I want to say it's 40 foot by 20 foot high, or 25 foot high. This is looking inside the tent. That is the tent you're looking inside. Notice there's a total of about 3,000 folding chairs, handmade inside these tents. This is a complete mock-up of the circus, including all the outside, what we call support tents, the animal tents, the makeup tents, and they even got some of the old, for a better term, personal tents for getting the stars of the show. Animal tents, feed tents, and everything. I mean, it's huge. Most people spend 45 minutes walking around this, and it's got a lovely train display. It's not an operating train, so you've got the big train cars, so you get a feel of what it looks like when the railroad pulls into town. Because everything's coming in by the train. And there are a few, there's about 9 of them, of the original wagons being used back in the 1910s and 1930s. This is only 4 of them just to show them. But these are the original ones that were being offloaded off the train and going down Main Street. There's a Pullman car inside the museum. This is the Mabel's original car. This is how they travel with the train. It's a 1905 Pullman. They used it for 11 years. He was one of only 11 people who owned his own private train car. There's a walkway on the back, so you don't go inside it, you walk along the back, so you're looking through all the windows, into all the rooms, the bedrooms, the dining room, the kitchen, bathroom, the service quarters. You get to see everything in it, and it's all been completely restored to original condition. So it's a very lovely display for a 1905 Pullman. Almost makes it worthwhile by itself. To me, the circus model is what draws you there. That's my personal opinion.
Did you say one man did that model?
One man literally over a 40-year period of time. Yeah, he was still, until about 5 years ago, he was still puttering with it. I mean, he had enough people help him assemble it, as far as all the carvings, all the stuff like that. Yeah. This is the Oslo Theater. It's constructed in 1798. We repeat that. This is from 1798. It was built in Oslo, Italy in 1930s. Let me make sure I get this correct, because I don't want to give something wrong here. It was dismantled by the fascist regime and put in storage. 1946, Chuck Austin is named director of the Ringling Museum and contacts the owner of it at that time, shipped to Florida, and in 1952 they start assembling it at the Ringling. So this is the original, what it looks like, and it is in use today. They do use it. It's inside the main building when you walk in off the one end of it. It is a gorgeous, I wish I had it. I could put another 10 pictures of this thing on here, but she's already nodding at me at the clock. But this is the Oslo, so like I say, it is well worth it to go to the Ringling. I'm done with the attractions, but there are another type of attraction we don't think about. The Columbia Restaurant, Ybor City. How many people have been to Columbia? Okay, in Ybor. The Sea Breeze Restaurant, now it's been closed since the 80s. Used to be on 22nd Street Causeway. Well known for their devil crabs. K-Pot Tree Inn. Now, y'all do, everybody knows there was 2 of them, right? One here in Seminole, and then the one down in Clearwater. Okay. Pappas Restaurant, Riverside. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, Pappas Restaurant seated over 1,000 people. Seawolf Restaurant, anybody remember that name? Seawolf Restaurant was built on the same exact site that the old Treasure Land was on. And it's built by a gentleman who's got a very well-known reputation, but we won't go there. But anyway, it was only open for about 5 years. It seated 500 people. It was 2 blocks down from Busch Gardens. Mirabella Seafood, still operational since the 1940s. There used to be 2 or 3 locations. The old Steve's Rustic Lodge, most people wouldn't know that one. It was out there on Lake Thanota-Sassa in the 50s and 60s up to about the early 70s. Showboat Dinner Theater? Okay. How about the Country Dinner Playhouse? Yep. Well, they were 2. One was in Clearwater, one was technically St. Pete. So we had those famous, well-known actors, you know, Bob Crane, Gilligan's Island, and of those level of actors coming in, rotating through and doing the skits. And then I threw this in just because I'm a pizza guy. How many people remember the old shaky pizza balls? Again, these aren't necessarily roadside attractions, but again, it's something that some of us wouldn't remember. And I like to make people think of history. I think I'm done. Any questions?